Welcome again to Whatcha Readin, where people ask me all the time when you're not writing, what are you reading? As a world-renowned, prolific writer, what do you read when you're not at work? And it's all comics edition this week. I picked up this book from Fantagraphics. It was called Once Upon a Mouse in the Future, and it's a really thick hardcover. Um, Reprint of what I assume is a weekly series in the Italian comic magazine Topolino. Topolino is the name for Mickey Mouse in Italy. It's a collection of a weekly feature that would reimagine classic Disney cartoon shorts set 100 years in the future. And it's kind of an interesting concept. And, you know, I was drawn to it because I loved it when I was a kid when Uncle Walt would teach us some science with the help of Werner von Braun and people like that. Um, I vividly remember seeing the Man in Space featurette. They showed it to us at school, as well as seeing it aired on Wonderful World of Disney. And I always liked seeing Disney's depictions of a possible future world. Even at the time, they seemed retro. Um, so this book is, as I said, it's from Italian creators, and it's a lot of fun. The concept's a little thin. The general concept is a little thin because they're taking, old classic cartoons like the Clock Cleaners and Lonesome Ghosts and things like that, and they're extrapolating them into the future. The problem with those old cartoons, and they're wonderful, they're classic, wonderful old cartoons, is that there wasn't a lot of story in those 7-minute shorts. They were largely setups for a series of comedy gags for the three characters, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. So the best of the stories in this collection are ones that add a subplot or some subtext or some suspense element going on, along with all of the farcical proceedings of the Disney cast. So if I was a kid, I would have loved this book. I mean, as an adult, as a comic aficionado, I can officially read children's books and see much more deeper meaning in them than you, the hoi polloi. Anyway, as a comic creator, I like looking at things like this, and I like looking at any comics and seeing the craft and what went into them and everything else. So they're fun stories. Some of the translations to English, there's some groan-inducing puns and some little too cute wordplay, but I assume they're trying to approximate the original Italian dialogue. I don't know if Italians do puns. I know the French do. I don't know. Do Italians do puns? Anybody listening here from Italy, let me know. I'm very, very curious. I'm honestly very curious about that. How is it? Are puns a common thing across international languages? Anyway, like I said, it's a terrific package. I mean, it's under $40 at Walmart. I think it's like $30, and it's really a hell of a deal. Which leads me to think, Fantagraphics doing these Disney collections, these lavish Disney collections, of which this is one. I always wondered about the profitability of them, but I see that, I was curious. I looked around to see who sells these, and Walmart sells them. And so I have to assume they're profitable. They have to be profitable to do a book this lavish, this well produced, this lovingly put together at this price point. So anyway, long way of saying it's a fun book if you've got kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews who like the Disney characters. They would certainly enjoy this book, and I did for what it was worth. Oh. Now my next entry is much more serious. This was recommended to me by the Great Hive Mind. Recommended to me by the Cloud. I think because I recently on Facebook reviewed a two-part miniseries about the French Revolution, and so this this manga was recommended to me just out of the blue, just by happenstance. It's called Innocent, and this is an omnibus. It collects the first 3 volumes. It's put out by Dark Horse. It's a really nice edition, and it deals with well. First of all, I should say anybody who watches these videos knows my undying admiration for the series Vinland, which is a manga series about Vikings, which I found to be surprisingly historically accurate, well researched, and presenting the Viking world to a degree of authenticity I would never have expected in a manga. Because mangas, for the most part, are rather fanciful. They sort of play with the real world. They're more representative or less representative of the real world than, I would want in a historical adventure. But Vinland Saga comes along, and it's wow. I mean, it's a great Viking story, and I can't nitpick at it. And this book about the French Revolution is even more so, to a way. It's just lavishly illustrated, and a lot of it isn't in typical manga style. It's in a very illustrative, more Western influenced comic style. Although the storytelling is very manga-esque. It's paced like a manga or an ordinary manga would be, but there's something more Western. Obviously, you can see there's some manga influences, but the attention to detail, the massive amounts of research that the artist writer did on this, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. And it's the story of the Sanson family, and the Sanson family were the executioners of Paris, and the title would be handed down to the eldest son of the family. And this series deals with Charles Sanson, who would later become famous as the operator of the guillotine in the Revolutionary Square at the height of the Reign of Terror. And this story tells his story from his youth, and basically being a executioner and torturer in training. And the gist of the story is he's way too sensitive a soul to take on this job from his father, who's clearly a sadist. Although the father shows, I won't spoil, but I won't spoil it. There's a surprise about the father's characterization in this first arc that really I didn't see coming. And if I have any complaint about it, it's that a lot of the men in the story are very effeminate. I mean, to the point of being androgynous, to the point of looking like young girls, even as they grow to be young men. And this is something I find in a lot of manga. And if you read manga, you've seen it too. I don't know what this propensity toward like girlish looking men is. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that means to the Japanese reader. I found it a little off-putting, because and it particularly when they're presenting decadent, debauched figures of Western history, as the French Revolution was rife with. It was rife with pervs and weirdos, and the kind of ruling class effete freaks that you get in a society like that, and more we're seeing in our own society. So I don't know what the propensity, but it didn't ruin the story for me or anything. I just found it sort of took me out of the story now and again, because it's like, this guy's too damn pretty to be operating a guillotine. So anyway, but I would highly recommend it if you have a strong stomach, because it gets into some detail about the torture devices of the period and manners of execution and everything else. But like I said, incredibly well researched, apparently from memoirs written in the period, which there are many. Journaling and writing memoirs was like a fad in Louis, France, and so there's this like wealth of material if you have the time and inclination to wade through it. And apparently, this writer artist did to great benefit. I will probably read the upcoming volumes because I'm very curious to see where this story is going. Well, I know where it's going. It's going to the Revolutionary Square, but I want to see how it gets there. And there are plenty of twists and turns in the story to keep you engaged. Anyway, I not only read books, I write them. Levon Scourge is out, doing well. People apparently seem to like it. It's the 12th book in the Levon Cade series. Levon Cade is a Alabama boy, former military, who just can't seem to stay out of trouble. Trouble finds him wherever he goes. And but in this book, he goes out looking for trouble as he travels to Mexico, Canada, and finally Vietnam in search of the men who threaten his family. So that's it for me this week. That's what I've been reading. I'm reading more, and I'll be back to tell you about it. See you all down the road.